Hello and welcome to coverage of Grand Prix San Jose, coming to you from California. My name is Marshall Sutcliffe. I am joined in the booth by Nate Price. Hi, Nate.
Hello. How are you doing?
This is round number 14 of this marathon team limited GP, and we are in the draft portion, and it looks like we're watching Jonas Kusla versus the guy that you watched draft, Gatica. What's his first name?
Miguel.
Miguel Gatica. And as we were just talking about before, boom, right off the bat, we see Doorkeeper come down. Now that's going to serve as an excellent blocker, but also a potential win condition for Gatica.
This is going to be really interesting as well because Koestler was actually passing directly to Gatica, so of almost every single card in Gatika's deck, Koestler is going to be able to sort of reason his way to. So he knows what he's getting into, except for a couple of the really big bombs. And I'm sure he's been informed of like the real big end game that we talked about from Gatika's deck, that Mercurial Chemister. So it's going to be interesting, like what sort of team communication went on in terms of figuring out the exact components of each of them.
And that's a big part of this thing. Now, we see Kusla, he doesn't even bother to attack. I think I would have attacked there just because it's free. You know, your knight has vigilance, and you might as well. But he didn't. And Gatica went ahead and activated his Doorkeeper on end step and then followed up with a Rune Wing. And it looks like Kusla is fine with just playing a land and passing the turn or missing a land. No, I missed the land and passing.
He's sitting on 6 cards in hand, I believe, all of which have at least 1 blue in their mana cost.
Okay. We saw a blue card milled away, and a Tower Drake follows up for Gatica. Now, 1 damage was prevented from the Rune Wing, and another pass of the turn, so he's getting a little bit desperate here.
I don't know if that was necessary. I mean,
to hit this blue mana source. All right, both of them battle. One is prevented, and he's going to take 3 damage in the air here. It looks like another Tower Drake comes down for Gatica, so he has mounted quite an offensive here, and this game could be over very quickly if Kusla can't find some blue mana.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, we talked a little bit about mulliganing hands just prior to this match, or I guess at the end of the previous round. Hands that contain he only has one
just
white.
Went to discard, by the way.
Yeah. He only had 1 white card that he was capable of playing in his hand. Everything else was blue. I mean, it did only require a single blue, but if your hand is all 1 color and you only have lands of the other color, a lot of times these are some of the like serious decision points for you.
It's it's definitely a risk. Or we see a bizarre Krovod come down for Gatica. This card actually is currently able to attack profitably as well. Kusla takes 5. That's 6 damage, but 1 is prevented. And he drops down to 11, and he is just going to scoop up his permanents because he could not find that blue. You know, I didn't get to see his opening hand in its entirety, so I can't really comment whether it was a good or a bad mulligan. I don't know that. But
don't know the contents of his deck either, which is...
That's right. But what you said makes a lot of sense, man. Like, you know, he's taking an actual discernible risk by keeping a hand that he has a bunch of blue stuff and no blue mana, and he's really got to make a decision on, you know, what are the chances that I draw blue mana by the time I need it? And in this case, he didn't.
Yeah, I mean,
it happens.
If you've got 8 or 9 blue sources in your deck, and you have none of them in your hand, but you're looking at basically getting to see 2 or 3 cards before you actually need to start playing a blue spell. And you have 2 or 3 draw steps, 9 cards out of roughly 32 or 33 over the course of 3 turns. Like, it's not unfavorable for you.
No, and you're actually quite favored to do it. It's just sometimes it doesn't come in. All right, so we're going to move over to Holtzinger versus Hartman. And we see Holtzinger with an aggressive start here. It looks like he's got a Splatter Thug, and it's wearing a Civic Saber already. That's going to be tough to get in the way of. And is that a Thrill Kill Assassin?
Yep.
And he's going to unleash it. Also, the Splatter Thug is also unleashed. And Hartman looks like he played a Celestia Charm. And there is a...
He traded with a 2/2 Cackler.
Okay, so he flashed in a Knight and blocked?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's where we're at here. Hartman definitely under pressure. He's sitting at 12 life. Holtzinger sitting at 20. We're going to update the graphic there. This is Holtzinger Hartman, though.
That monitor right there is...
yeah, Corozda monitor.
All it's really going to do is be able to trade off with that Thrill Kill Assassin right here.
Which I think he's pretty thrilled to do.
Hartman?
He's pretty thrilled to kill that assassin. Yeah, no, I do think though that he would be pretty happy to do that here.
Yeah, I mean at this point, I mean his life total is rapidly evaporating. He's on a 3-turn clock from that first strike, 4 damage of first strike that is coming across from.
Did I see? Am I looking at Hartman's hand correctly? Do you see what he has? He looks like a pretty straightforward Selesnya deck, but
Guess what's hiding in there? He's got a
so it looks like he's been pretty aggressive with his mana base here, although he hasn't quite seen it all.
He's got a few of the Axebane Guardians in his deck, as well as a reasonable number of gates.
Okay.
So he has, I mean, I don't think it's the ideal mana base to have with a deck like this, but he certainly has the ability to pull up. It's just unfortunate this first round opponent.
All right, so he does make the trade, and a Dead Reveler joins the party. Hartman looks at the top card of his library for a while. He's got a Swamp in hand. He can play something that costs 5. He's still at 8. You know, he's not dead to this attack.
Unfortunately.
It would be 7. But he's got to be able to play something, and I see a red-black spell in his hand. I think it's a Rick's Modi. Yeah, it's just not going to do it, so he just scoops it up. He just can't resolve any of his spells. So, you know, I think this is one of the interesting things about this format is that there's a lot of temptation to build these 5-color decks or these 4-color decks with all these gates and stuff. But there's a definite check and balance in place, and that comes in the form of Rakdos.
Yeah, I mean, that Rakdos is a major problem
for the slow deck.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a big problem.
On top of that, the cards that you're really going to want to see to make that deck work, like to really make it work, the Axebane Guardians and the Land Search You All man.
The Land Search You All man.
That's I'm pretty sure what his direct.
The Creeper.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah,
too.
Gate Creeper Vine. Yeah,
Gate Creeper Vine.
You like that? Sheldon's giving me the thumbs up on the Land Search.
I don't know if that's a thumbs up or not. But
no, that's totally a thumbs up. But those cards are valued by the other green decks in the format too.
All right, so we move over to Graffensteiner versus Paul.
Carlos Paul. Yep.
Yep. And it looks like we have a pretty. Oh, well, okay. Again, this is kind of funny looking at the mana base because it's like. You look down Paul's mana and it's like, oh yeah, Selesnya, I know that deck. And then, wait a minute, Rakdos Guildgate, what is that doing there? All right, so Loxodon Smiter, and that is, so the Loxodon Smiter, I call that the brick.
Yeah.
He's a 4/4 for 3, he's just a brick.
I guess, can we call the, what is that guy? The Wayfaring Temple?
Yeah.
That guy's the mortar?
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've got a 3/3 Temple right now, the 4/4 Brick, and then a Vassal Soul kind of hanging out and doing its thing. Paul's mana base is not nearly as tricky as it actually seems like it is. He's playing green, white, black. That is strictly a gate that's going to allow his Ogre Jailbreaker to attack at some point.
So it's a swamp.
It is a swamp
that enables.
Exactly.
It's enabling swamp. I like it. All right, so he's going to double block here, which is going to signal to Graffensteiner that he's got a removal spell for one of the other creatures, because if he can take out the Vassal Soul, for example, he could use the 2 damage and then it would be smaller. He's not going to let that happen, though.
That's a big deal right there. I mean, that Phantom General right there was making this the point when Paul got to actually make the favorable trade of only losing a 2/2 at the cost of his opponent's 3/3, but that is not going to be the case anymore. Swift Justice just... I mean, we've talked all weekend about the importance of that small little bits of life gain, like getting through for like 4 or 5, since all of these games are combat-based and generally just so close
and in this case, the first strike being the operative thing, right? Because now both birds are going to be dead to the Wayfaring Temple.
Which lives.
Yeah, which will now live. And you know, this is, again, though, I think that Graffensteiner has to be aware of some type of trick. It can come in 2 forms. It can be Common Bond type cards, which is what we're going to see cast by Paul here. He's going to do 1 and 1 to make it to 4. Although that is not enough.
That makes it 3. That makes it so that they still die. He's going to trade one of his birds for that because, I mean, right now it's a 4-powered, like 4/3 first striker, so he can kill off one of the birds, and the other bird's still going to deal.
But aren't they both? Oh, he's got.
He's
I didn't
Phantom
see
General,
it down there. Okay, that's what you meant by that. I thought you meant it was in his hand.
Oh,
yep,
no,
you're totally right. So what? He just keeps a bird out of this scenario?
It becomes a bird. Yeah, the bird dies to first strike damage, and the second bird is going to actually kill off the temple.
Yeah, because it's a 3/4, right?
If I'm not mistaken.
It's a 3/4, so yeah, it should kill the temple.
3/4 or 4/3. Yeah, 3/3s on 4/3. But apparently Graffensteiner has something he may be looking to do.
We're not done here yet with this combat. Oh, he does. He's got the other pump spell +2/+2, and you get to untap the creature incidentally. But wow, this could be quite a blowout here if Paul can't answer it.
Yeah, you raise, I re-raise.
Yeah, no kidding.
Savage Surge does what it's supposed to do. Savagely.
Wow, that was savage. All right, and both guys die, and Graffensteiner's going to gain a ton of life off the transaction, although that's not relevant because he's the aggressor currently, able to bash with the brick and the Wayfaring Temple. Now, that did use up all his mana for the turn, so he's not going to get to develop his board, but that was well worth it, that sequence.
He doesn't need to develop his board if he's destroying his opponents.
Yeah. Now, I see Paul's got a launch party in hand. That would have been a nice thing to have with, like, you know, the random bird tokens to throw those around is always nice. He doesn't want to necessarily throw his real guys. All right. All three bashing in, a 4/4, a 3/3, and a 2/2 flying. This represents lethal damage, so there's going to need to be a block or removal or some combination of those for Pal not to die here, so he's going to do something.
This is one of those situations when damage on the stack would have been just killer. Like, it was a lot better when Launch Party was Death Bomb and damage was on the stack.
Oh, yeah.
Was Death Bomb an instant or was Death Bomb a sorcery?
Right, so we do see a block here, and it looks like he's just going to Launch Party it over at the brick.
It's party.
And he does just that. That means he's only going to be taking 2 damage. Graffensteiner's going to drop to 24 from the launch party if it resolves. Uh-oh.
Oh, we're going to see a plus. Oh, and give trample, and now that there's no blocker,
and
the full amount of damage goes through.
So the full so this is going to give his creature +3/+3 in trample, and this should be lethal here because it's 6/2.
Yeah.
And that's going to be 8, and it's going to be enough to kill him.
Yeah.
So it looks like Graffensteiner's going to go up a game off the back of 3 consecutive combat tricks.
Yeah.
And used in good fashion. I mean, you know, I played in this event and in the sealed portion, and I didn't make it to day 2 with my team, but I was the Celestia player when we were playing yesterday. And I got to say, the combat tricks are aplenty. I haven't played in a format that had this many open, and you really can't play around them. They just basically have it every time, like we saw there.
This is why I love this format. We switched to the middle of another game, and there are just 15 creatures on the table. So just simply assessing what's going on as we switch over is wonderful.
Yeah, it's a challenge for us in the booth, but we can probably figure it out here.
Oh, yeah. It's not a bad thing. I love it.
Yeah. All right. So Armory Guard.
So we've got
is that a volatile rig?
No, it's
a street sweeper.
Yeah, which ironically enough is actually useful here against Koestler, since he's got. I mean, the prevention is considerably less impactful since he's kind of on the defensive here.
Right, and then a Tower Drake on the side. Looks like a Keening Apparition comes down. He's got 2/2 Vigilance Knights, 2 birds. There's a Griffin,
a Stealer's Secrets, and Weird,
and a Frostburn Weird, but no attacks. He just doesn't have any way to actually get in. He's at 14. He's got Gatica down to 10. So nobody's really in a position to make a big strike here. But you know, this is where cards like Cyclonic Rift come in and just do devastating things.
Yeah.
All right, Liev Sky Knight goes on the stack. It resolves. Now it's going to get to detain a non-land permanent until end of turn, and he's going to choose Street Sweeper.
All your men.
Detained, attack with everything.
So I would imagine that the Weird is probably going to get blocked by that Tower Drake. We need to live.
So the Tower Drake can have a huge amount of toughness. You can pay white to give it +0/+1, and has got access to looks like 5 white sources here. So math is being done. The Frostburn Weird right now for Kusla can represent 4 damage itself. So that's a big concern for Gatica. And he's going to scoop it up. He says, yeah, that was enough damage.
All right. So
wow, so 1 detain trigger later, this stalled out board state is done.
That's, I mean, detain is... It's interesting because of the fact that, I mean, Gatica was holding off that entire army of creatures with a mere trio himself.
Yeah.
Detain, all you got, if you remove 1 of those 3 creatures, attacking, I mean, attacking was already probably favorable for Koestler, but now attacking became a sure kill in 2 turns as opposed to, like, him losing 3 creatures on the attack and then possibly having an opportunity to claw back in on Gatika's side.
Yeah, and the whole thing comes tumbling down. All right, and we see another quick start here for Holtzinger. He's got Rakdos Cackler into a Splatter Thug. But we do see a rampy quick start with what looks like an Ooze token on 4.
4/4 Ooze.
Ooze and Oz.
Pretty sure the Rakdos likes getting Ooze, right?
Oh, this is going to be bad. This is going to be bad. So this is going to be an Augur Spree on the 4/4 Ooze. And it looks like Hartman is also tapped out at this particular juncture, so it is dead. And both guys are going to battle. He's going to take 5 damage and go to 15.
It's 1/4 of his life total.
It's interesting decision for Holtzinger, not this turn, but if he has removal that can kill the Axebane Guardian, you got to wonder if he's got to use it. I mean, it just seems like it turns on Hartman's deck in a bunch of different ways that Hartman's deck normally, you know, his mana seemed pretty rough in that first game.
Yeah, so true. I mean, that's what makes it kind of run. I mean,
so Sluiceway Scorpion's going to come down here for Hartman, it looks like. Oh, rethink that one. I see a Launch Party in his hand.
I don't think
I see a Key Rune in his hand, but he's just got to get this thing down to trade off with the Cackler. Now, he can't trade off with the Splatter Thug.
He does have a share or a common bond in his hand.
He does.
He might propose to wait a turn.
He might wait 1 turn.
And then try to get in with a combat trick to take out that
It's kind of weird having common bond and Launch Party in your hand. It's like, know, like one, wants a bunch of creatures and make them bigger, and the other one wants to just have basically expendable creatures. He'll work it out, though.
Yeah. Somewhere in all of this is the right thing.
Yeah. But you can just feel the pressure that Hartman's under here. I mean, he's got a Key Rune in his hand. He really wanted to get that out and kind of develop his board, but he just doesn't have the time. All right, block the Cackler and just take 3.
Curious why that wasn't happening.
I like this play.
Oh, certainly. I mean,
yeah, I mean, it was tapped last turn, but he can do it now, yeah.
I thought I saw him reaching for a pen to adjust life totals without blocking with his Oath through. I was very confused.
All right, Cobble Brute comes down for Holtzinger. That's a 5/2. And, man, it just represents a lot of power, right? I mean, it's a matter of getting him through. Like, he'll usually trade off with, like, something pretty mediocre on their side. But if you have a way to get him through, turns out that in Magic, 5's a big number. You can take huge chunks of their life total out with that creature.
You certainly can. And
also, it makes positions like this pretty awkward for your opponent because you just bash with everything, and it's like, all right, sure, trade off for my 5 guy, but you're still got 5 other power coming in.
Yeah, I mean, Hartman was clearly planning on using that Sluiceway Scorpion to do something other than trade with the 5/2. So whatever he was planning on before now has clearly been shifted.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few options that he's got here. I think he's just going to pass a turn back this time, and he's probably just going to go for a Launch Party.
I mean, he might
block Launch Party.
It's entirely possible. What he does here is block the
Cobble Brute?
Block the Cobble Brute with his Sluiceway Scorpion and block the
Rakdos Cackler?
The Cackler, and then common bond his Axebane Guardian.
Why would you do the Axebane Guardian?
Because you're already going to lose your Sluiceway Scorpion, and at this point now you've got your Axebane Guardian at a 2 power capable of making that trade, and it'll also give him a 5 toughness capable of blocking
it'll kill the Rakdos Cackler?
Yeah, and
I like that line.
He'll be able to block with a 3/3 every turn.
Oh, but it looks like a Rakdos Shred Freak has also joined the club, and since it has haste, it's battling. All right, so what he's going to do is similar to your line, except for that he's going to...
Oh, Rootbound Defenses.
Oh, he's got Rootbound Defenses. Oh, so we can see the plan that he had. He was going to make 4/4s, but that was...
That is a clever way to get that Death Touch in there, actually.
I do enjoy that.
It's a shame he didn't have something to populate with, but at the same time, and
is that a Grim Roustabout? No, it's a Thrill
Kill.
Kill Assassin. Yeah. So another 2-power guy joins the table.
Draft number 72. Draft number 72.
And we are back down to having Death Bomb, Launch Party and Common Bond in hand. But actually,
he can cast both this turn.
I don't really dislike this position. Like
I do.
The
Have you
Thrill
seen
Kill
Holzinger's
Assassin.
hand yet?
No, I haven't been looking at his hand.
You're going to dislike this position.
That an explosive impact, or
yeah, I believe he has an explosive impact. I think a second Augur Spree.
Yeah, this is bad times.
Like, Common Bond is going to be very painful.
And Dead Reveler, another massive powered creature. I mean, yeah.
I mean, so you just attack with everything here, but he's got to decide if he wants to try to get the thing out of the way. I think he's got an Annihilating Fire in his hand as well. So he can go for lethal here, but then Common Bond actually gets pretty good. Downside, he's got to tap the Axebane Guardian to make white for Common Bond.
True.
Which is also not bad for Holtzinger. You know, get one of their blockers out of the way.
Well, oh yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? Like, so
yeah,
like,
if he tries to remove something,
let's say he goes, kill your Scorpion. You know, and he goes, and then Hartman wants to Common Bond to save it. You know, if he's going to do 3 to it, it's just not going to work. And he's completely tapped out at that point, and he just dies.
I wonder what he's thinking here. I mean, Hartman has 6 untapped lands and that untapped Druid.
Yeah, the
Guardian.
The Guardian makes things a little weird, but I think we're going to see. Oh, he's just, he's just going to be patient here.
Oh,
no,
that's yeah.
Yeah, that is a Deviant Glee.
Yeah, that's right.
+2, +1, and you can pay red to give the creature trample until end of turn. It looks like he's going to put it on his weakest creature here, which is the Rakdos Shred Freak. Resolves. All right, so he's moved all in a little bit more, but that's actually going to benefit Hartman quite a bit because it's going to make a 2-for-1 potentially, depending on how he blocks. Although the trample is certainly a thing.
And at the same time, I think Holtzinger's just like, I think he knows that at some point the burn spells in his hand are just going to finish the game.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he has Annihilating Fire in his hand, and that's going to be great with it. Oh, he can't do trample and Annihilating Fire with Deviant Glee, so that line is not open to him.
Right, but he also may not need to. He may just let this happen, knock Hartman to 4, and then on the following turn, because he's wiping Hartman's board. Hartman's going to have to play 2 things with the spells that he's got in his hand.
All right, so here comes the big taps, and he's going to give 2 counters to this, which is going to actually be an effective block because it's going to have 2 power, and we're going to launch party over here at the Thrill Kill Assassin.
So he lives for the turn, but he still has a Cobble Brute in play next turn.
Yeah, well, but the Cobble Brute's going to get eaten by the Axebane Guardian, or no, it just trades. All right, well, this was not a bad sequence, though. Hartman he needs something off the top of his deck. He's now out of cards, but this is a thing. Now, and the Scorpion, he can scavenge that back as well and create a pretty big blocker here, right?
Can and will.
Jake Hill, please report to the side of the
All right, now we are back up to a 4/7 creature capable of blocking and trading anything. All right. Gorehouse Chainwalker off the chain.
And he just ships a turn back. No attacks. He could get Hartman to 4 if that was a goal that he had, so maybe he doesn't have explosive impact in his hand. I think he's got a Rakdos Rage Mutt. Jeez, he just draws straight. He's drawn like 4 or 5 spells in a row after he hit 4 mana.
And Hartman's been doing the exact opposite. He's doing nothing but drawing swamps.
Probably should have played one of them, but 1, 2, 3, and it's going to be a Dead Reveler again. And Hartman's like, man, this guy just casts a spell every single turn of this game. If he draws a land next turn that comes into play untapped, he can Rage Mutt as well, and that's all lethal. This is 3, 4, 5. This is actually lethal as it sits. Ooh, Singer of Songbirds?
Yeah.
Or Seller of Songbirds, I mean?
That gets 2
Singer
chump blockers.
Yeah,
Singer of Cellbirds.
Yeah,
Singer of Cell Songs.
They're unfortunately both chumps, but that is relevant here because that means that an all-in attack from Holtzinger means... Oh, never mind. He's got to tap again. So the same problem that he had with the Common Bond, in that he had to tap his Axebane Guardian to play it, which is like clearly his best blocker. So now he's just got 2 chumps so he doesn't die. It's his only play. Otherwise, he was dead.
Yes. And I think Holtzinger's got to figure he doesn't have anything at this point. He shouldn't just be swinging. I mean, at this point, it's also just completely pairs away the team.
Please go there.
Go to 2.
Thank you.
He goes to 1 here.
Was that? Oh, yeah. 3 damage from that one.
Yeah.
Forgot he's off the chain.
Yep, he is off the chain. And another Cobble Brute joins the fun here. And I think we're going to see a scoop. It's another Axebane Guardian, but it's just too many creatures. And he extends the hand. So Holtzinger handily defeats Hartman here. Had him on his heels the whole time we saw them on camera. Hartman was pinned to the wall and just trying to not die.
Yeah, I think that his team in general feels like Hartman's deck was probably the weakest of the 3 decks on his team.
I mean, I don't usually use words like horrible on coverage, but his deck was bad. Like, I'm just being honest. Like, like that many colors and trying to do that many things, usually it just ends up being a mess.
Yeah.
Like, if you've got really, really powerful things, sometimes it's warranted to take that kind of risk, but I think that when you go that deep, sometimes you don't come back.
Yeah, and if you guys are like checking out the text coverage at home as well, like you'll see there should be a really good article on the presence of 5-color and the ability to play it in this limited format that Steve Sadin wrote after a couple of interviews with Matt Costa and Martin Yuza.
I cannot wait to read that.
Those are Assassins from Vraska on Carlos Powell's side, so that's usually a good sign when you have Vraska Assassins on play.
Those two unknown tokens are both the Assassin tokens. Whoa! So yeah, we're gonna read Vraska here for Graffensteiner picks it up.
All of us are gonna read Vraska really soon.
Yeah. So the long and short of it is that if they do damage to a player, the combat damage to a player, that player loses the game. Now they don't have Death Touch. So they can't just go bashing in and trade off for bigger stuff. But if he can find a way to get one of those guys through, the game's over.
They have Death Touch, just only applies to players.
Yes. Dead Touch.
I mean, it's a reasonable thing to want to have on your side of the table as Carlos Powell, knowing that your team is down in a 1-match-to-0 hole, and you yourself are already down a game in this match yourself. I mean, Carlos Powell and Miguel Gatica both need to win their matches in order for their team to advance past this round and continue to have a chance at making the top 2 teams.
Mm-hmm. All right, stab wound on your Vassal Soul, which is going to kill it. Now, I still see 3 blockers, though. And it looks like Graffensteiner sitting at 23 life, so it's, there's some situations here where he could attack with everything and force him to block all 3 of the guys and get in a bunch of damage. Unfortunately, I just don't think he has a follow-up play to that.
No, in Carlos Powell, like, it's not like those are his only creatures in play either. Like, he's got a ton of other dudes in play. He's attacking in the air right now with a bird and a beetle.
Yeah, bird and a beetle, and I think we're going to see some eyes in the skies come down. There they are. Now, he's going to populate at least 1 bird because he's going to make a bird because he has to.
It's likely a bird and a centaur.
A bird and a centaur is likely.
No, he just double birded.
He double birded.
James Cyrillus to the side of his table, please. James Cyrillus.
I guess it depends. What
does that make sense? It looks like he's going to trade off a bird. What, does he have a combat trick that I didn't see?
You know, it looked to me like he had Chorus of Might, or Chorus of Many, I mean. But I'm sorry.
It is Chorus of Might.
It's not Chorus of Might that he's got in his hand, though. It's Savage Surge that he's got in his hand.
Okay.
I get the artwork on those cards backwards sometimes.
All right, so a Centaur's Herald joins the club. And it looks like Graffensteiner just took 3 on that exchange. A bird was traded, and that was it. It looks like there's a bird in the yard, which, there we go. It's kind of bugging me, too.
Oh, come on now.
Come on, he gets exiled.
They never get to, they don't get to spend very much time in the graveyard. Like,
yeah, they really don't ever get that proper burial. All right, is that a Risen Sanctuary?
I believe that's what that is.
And it's an 8/8 Vigilance for 7.
Well worth it, I would say.
Can it attack? Yeah, I think he can just throw it in.
Yeah. I mean,
it's hard to see the way that Powell has his creatures piled up there.
It's a Cellar Songbird, a Knight, an Ogre Jailbreaker.
Is that a Trestle Troll?
And a Trestle. Okay, the Trestle Troll.
So the Trestle Troll
just
blanks that thing completely.
Yeah.
And it looks like he didn't want to mess around, though. Yeah, launch party to just kill it. Would you do that? If you got a trestle troll?
Nah, I would probably have just kept the you never know when you're gonna have a better target for it.
Yeah.
When it becomes a real issue, you can still always throw one of your dorks off at it at that
I
point.
am on board for that. By the way, trestle troll, love that card. Just does nothing.
This will be the 5th time that I've said this in the past hour and a half. Trestle troll's a good card.
Yeah. It does the most nothing out of anything in the set. It's just like the biggest stop sign.
Yeah. No. It does nothing.
Yes. Null rod?
Yeah. Good catch. Centaur Healer taking him back up over 20 life.
Oh, we've got a match result.
Oh, and it looks like...
Ooh, we're tied up now.
All right.
So Gatica takes down his match versus Kusla, and this is the decider we're watching here, guys. Graffensteiner is up a game, but we have a really interesting board state. For those of you just joining us here in San Jose, I'm Marshall Sutcliffe. This is Nate Price, and there are assassin tokens on the table. Now, those are hard to find. You don't get them very often.
No.
I heard that some of the teams that were testing with Luis and those guys, that if you opened one of those, you would get a very nice prize from your teammates, and you know, they're hard to find though.
Yeah. I'm always a big fan of rewarding people for opening the rare tokens.
Yeah, I think it's great.
A nice little fun sub game.
But it's making this an interesting tension in this game, because Graffensteiner constantly has to be aware that if he opens himself up to let one of those in, he loses the game. Game's over.
And it's a very weird situation because of the fact that, like,
we see a quadruple block on the Centaur.
Yeah, there are so many creatures on the table right now that combat is just weird.
Uh-huh. Right.
Oh,
is that a Chorus of Might?
It was a Chorus of Might.
It is a Chorus of Might.
You know, I think he's got a Chorus of Might and a Savage Surge in his hand.
Okay, so he's going to use it on the bird so that he can eat the beetle there. And it looks like we're going to see another combat trick, though, from Pal here. He is going to Aerial Predation, I believe.
Oh,
yeah, the bird. So that's a nice play.
I do
like
that play.
Almost a 2-for-1. It's, you know, that bird is about half a card, but still very, very good. It keeps his guy alive as well.
And that's a good
He
trade-off
also gains
there.
2 life. Not irrelevant when you're facing down, you know, a deck that can put out as much power as Graffensteiner's can.
Yeah, no.
Even though Pal isn't able to actively move his board state forward currently, he's getting in damage, and I like his board position right now.
I definitely do. I mean, he's able to get through for damage. He has enough creatures that even though there are a series of 3/3s on Graffensteiner's side, Graffensteiner can't profitably attack, and because his creatures are 3/3s, and 3 tends to be the number that things revolve around in this set, it's not like he's able to defend and force favorable trades for himself either. Like, inevitably, if he's trading, he's only trading even with Paul, where Paul gets to do the exact opposite if things go the other direction.
Right.
The size from the skies here gives him 2 additional bird tokens, so now he's attacking for even more in the air, and Graffensteiner's down to, like, it looks like just that last card in his hand, so he's kind of up against the wall here. Oh, man, and a common bond is going to make it so that they're even bigger.
Combat tricks aplenty. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 damage coming in.
That is a 3-turn clock.
It is indeed. So Graffensteiner drops to 11, and he needs to find an answer, or Pal is going to take this out. I think he's drawn his own common bond now.
Unfortunately, he has no flyers on which to put it.
No, he doesn't, and he can't afford to attack on the ground for fear of getting assassinated.
Yeah.
Vraska. She did some work here, and she's... It's interesting he decided to ultimate Vraska. I mean, we didn't get to see that situation. Wow, and he just scoops it up.
Yep. All right, and Carlos Pal is taking it to the final and deciding game of the match, of the matches.
These situations are really interesting. You know, when I was out there on the floor earlier, we found ourselves in this spot sometimes where 2 people would have won on our team, and then we had one more that was still playing. And, man, it gets pretty interesting because you'll have both players intently watching. We see a little love note for everybody watching at home in Costa Rica.
Yeah, had a lot of fun. Got to spend some time with Gatica and Pal in Costa Rica at the Grand Prix.
Yeah, because you were doing text coverage down there, right?
Yeah, it's really enjoyable. Like, we felt kind of like the top 8 for that tournament was just so insanely intense. Like, everyone was so good.
I've never seen a top 8 like that since I've come back to Magic.
No, it's such an incredibly skill testing format, and there were enough players who just wanted to take a little vacation and go down and check things out. They went down, and it was rough. I mean, it was a very difficult field to play in, and sitting there like the entire time. Miguel Gatica is always near the top of the standings. Like we met him at the World Magic Cup before that as well. Like I mean, he's a very, very, very solid player. Like one of the best players in the Latin American Magic community.
Oh, okay.
And he finished in 9th place in that tournament, and we really were kind of pulling for him to make it through. But at the same time, we were also pulling for Pascal Maynard to take the 8th slot because we really liked his draft deck. So it's a very tough spot, but. These guys, I mean, they showed us a wonderful time down there in Costa Rica. Mark Colorado and I, we just had an absolute blast.
That's awesome.
Enjoying our time with everybody, and everyone like it's a wonderful, cool, like tight knit Magic community down there. Yeah, it's really, really sweet.
Legacy pairings are.
I mean, it's nice watching through Magic go through revolutions as far as geographies are concerned. Like there was once upon a time, it was strongly considered that if you played against a Japanese player, it was an easy buy for you.
Okay.
Like, can you imagine a time when playing against random Japanese person was a buy? Nowadays, you can be playing against a Japanese player whose name you don't recognize, and you're already like, all right.
Like how badly am I losing
here?
Exactly.
You gotta play super tight here.
Yeah.
And Latin America took over that spotlight as the place that had like the weaker community for a long time, and it is not the case anymore. You see a lot of look at what happened at the World Magic Cup. Like Uruguay, who like was on as far as our strength rating go, like one of the weaker teams. I think they might have been the weakest team in terms of pro points and performance.
On paper,
based on previous statistics, and they finished just out of making top 4. And then like you've got Dominican Republic, who finished like in 2nd place, and I mean you've got all of these awesome teams.
Yep. All right, so we're underway here. Land drop so far, and I think we're gonna see a crocodile maybe.
Croc.
Yep, there he is. So you can give him lifelink, but I think in this deck he's just going to be a 3/2.
And Powell passes the turn back.
He's got all 3 colors. He could have played Doran there, but
unfortunately, it's
not in the set.
Oh well, that's sad.
Was that not unfortunate?
No.
I thought that was unfortunate. All right, that's a Wayfaring Temple. So right now it's just a 2/2, but if it does get a chance to hit the opponent, he will get to populate. Unfortunately, he currently doesn't have anything to populate.
Yeah. Green-white 1 is a very good casting cost for creatures that get larger and do insane things.
Yeah, because you can often follow it up. You know, one of the plays that we used to make in M13 and that you can make here in a similar fashion is to play this guy on turn 3, then play Eyes in the Skies and bash for 1,000,000.
Yeah.
And Eyes in the Skies becomes a really interesting card in that scenario because it's not only a combat trick if they block. You know, it gives him +2/+2 at instant speed.
Yeah.
It also gives him something to populate if they don't.
Yeah.
So they take more damage, plus he gets to populate. It's a really nice 3 into 4 if you can get it. Now, the Wayfaring Temple, however, is a rare. So it's not like this is a common thing that you see all the time. We had Crusader of Odric in M13, which was not a rare, and you could see that that sequence of Crusader of Odric into the make 3 guys.
Captain's Call?
Yeah, Captain's Call.
Yeah.
All right, and main phase land drop into attacks indicates that we might be seeing just that. That is a Ogre Jailbreaker down on the ground there, and
but
although wouldn't
I'm perfectly willing to make that trade.
Yeah, so that's a play that is probably not going to happen here then, because you would make that trade all day.
Yep. In RP.
So I don't think that oh, he's just going to eat the guy. He just says sure.
2 for 1.
I mean, I see a common bond.
I think I see 2. I mean, I see at least 1 copy of +2/+2 untapping Savage Surge in his hand.
You have 50 minutes. You may begin.
+2/+2 untappy.
Yeah, I like that card a lot. I think it's a little bit underrated right now, but not a lot.
No.
The untap is a big deal. When you're battling in Selesnya and you just keep attacking and they try to race you and you can untap your guy and eat something, it's pretty sweet.
Yep. What have you?
All right. Is it a Swift Justice?
Yes.
All right, so he says, I'm not done yet, because he could still common bond here if he wanted, and maybe make that Wayfaring Temple just some force to be reckoned with. I don't know. He wants to use up all of his mana. He doesn't have a 3-drop, and he's just going to do it. So is he going to put both on the Wayfaring Temple, or is he going to spread them out?
Spread them out.
All right, so he loses 1 damage by doing it this way, but he evens out his threats in a pretty relevant way by doing it this way.
Gains an extra life, too.
He does gain an extra life, but 1 life gain does not equal 1 life loss for your opponent, right?
Not when you are on
They're not equal.
Well, not when you're on the offensive.
Right.
Like, it changes value, because
does change
definitely
value.
the life gain can be more important in certain situations.
But when you're at 25 and you're beating them down, you certainly would rather have them lower than you are.
That is 100%
Now,
correct.
you see a hand creep in, and that's because we are in team play here. You know, we are dealing very much directly with a situation where there are 2 players on either side of Pal giving him input whenever he needs it, and as I saw out on the floor, sometimes when he doesn't.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, that's not just a wandering person pointing at things.
Right. Is that a Perilous Shadow, or
is that a slug?
Catacomb Slug? Oh, it's a 5-drop. You're right.
Sluggy.
Catacomb Slug comes down as a 2/6. It's not doing much here. It's really not. I mean, I think this card's pretty low impact overall. Like, it serves a purpose, but it has to have kind of friends with it. Because right now, Graffensteiner just gets to still just bash. He's just like, yeah, whatever, take 4.
Yeah, but I'm very content to have him take 4. I mean, he could have played something that was going to be able to trade with one of those 2 guys, but this still, I mean, I'm fine tossing a 6 toughness creature that can survive this attack and then get friends afterwards.
Okay. Let's see if this slug makes any friends when the turn gets passed over. Right now, though, we're still in Graffensteiner's second main phase.
Yeah.
And he's deciding this is a critical turn. He's just going to ship it back, so that, you know, Eyes in the Skies is a possibility. There's a few things he can have, but he really would like to develop his board further, stay 1 step ahead of that slug.
So what are we looking at over on Gatika's or on Pal's side? Like, it looked to me, I'm pretty sure that he's got an ethereal armor in his hand. I know that he had 2 in his card pool. So
Really?
We're
doing that?
He's doing that.
Okay.
You're looking with this pensive, disapproving stare right now that people can't see at home.
That is an absolutely accurate.
All right. He did pick up himself a locust now, so he found a friend. But at the same time, he's facing down. I mean, he found a friend to fight the 4/3 in a 3/3.
Okay.
That's a good thing, yeah.
I like it. Is that a
he can give it +1
defenses,
and he can
well?
give it +1/+1 in first strike.
Well, but it's going to take all his mana, isn't it? 6 mana.
6 mana to play the. Yeah, but the ethereal armor only costs 1. He's got 7. Oh, I'm sorry. For some reason I thought there were 3 lands in the pile on the left. So.
Right.
Yeah. No, I can't count. Is what the issue is.
Counting's hard.
That's why I'm good at Magic.
Future Doctor can't count.
Yeah. 3/7 first strike. How you like me now, bro?
I don't like you now at all. This is what he decided to, like...
Yeah.
I mean, I guess this isn't too bad in this situation because Graffensteiner, like, isn't representing Tristani's Justice or anything like that, Judgment, but, like...
Power.
All right, he just untapped, so it looks like Graffensteiner's hit a wall here. He just doesn't have... Well, okay, now he drew a forest, but he's got to keep moving things forward. I see he's got another card that I'm not a huge fan of.
Pal has one that you're not a huge fan. Well, you are. It is in the zone for you. In his hand, one that we talked about between the matches, Avenging Arrow.
Yeah, like I consider that. I put that in the necessary evil category. Like it's a fine card. Like you run it and you put it in your deck and it gets resolved and it does what it does. But you know you wouldn't call that premium removal, right? It's more like you're working with the tools that you have type thing. Then again, I don't like the Catacomb Slug wearing an ethereal armor is like, if I ever do that, I'm just like, yeah, we're done here. Like, I've outlived my usefulness.
My mindset on Avenging Arrow is this set does not have too many cards that just say destroy target creature on them.
No, and if they do, they cost 6.
Right, and so having the ability to literally kill anything in the format without like a conditional qualifier, like spending 6 mana or it having 2 toughness or less is like to me it's very valuable.
Now wait a minute, but you said it didn't need to have a special qualifier, but it does. Oh, okay, we have battles here, by the way. The Wayfaring Temple is being blocked
by the 3/3 first striker.
Yeah, now this is an interesting situation because Pal did just decide to play the ethereal armor. He's got 5 mana sitting open. and he can represent a bunch of tricks of his own. But Graffensteiner has felt like he's just going to need to go ahead and do this. So I think we're going to see
the pumpy
Grizzly
damage.
Yeah, the
pumpy damage. Savage Surge.
Savage Surge. And we do.
Looking at that Wayfaring Temple, you know what we see? That slug really does need a friend, because if I'm not mistaken, the topmost of the untapped lands on Powell's side is the Grove of the Guardian.
It is.
Getting another creature in play seems like pretty solid.
Especially because it won't be another. It'll be another turn until you can do anything after that.
Yeah. How much do you buy into people grouping their lands in a manner that like telegraphs a spell that they're going to play? Like in the situation where Paul has clearly had 3 lands in front of him marked for something like Avenging Arrow. Like, is that ever something that you actually think about when you're drafting with people live?
Yeah, a little bit, but for the most part, I just feel like there's 2 types of people in this world. There's people that will do that for their entire Magic career and never assume that anybody looks at it, and then you can actually take something from that. And then there's people that know people look at it and will do it to mess with you, and then you just ignore it. Like it's just brain space that I don't use. So I'm really looking more at the person and saying, are you somebody who's trying to trick me, or are you not?
Okay.
All right, Slug bit it, 2 for 1 achieved, but it looks like the Crocodile also died in the exchange.
That is correct.
How did the Crocodile die?
Magic. Absolutely no idea.
I don't know either. Trestle Troll?
Trestle Troll is a good card.
Yeah, man. Stop sign. You shall not pass. Like that. Nothing gets by that guy.
Yeah.
He's awesome. I mean, if what you're trying to do is nothing, he's your man.
There's a reason I like him so much. We talked about this all week. Like, it used to be a motto that was given to me by other people: "Why win when you cannot lose?"
Yeah, and he's like the poster boy.
Yeah, I love it.
All right, and Graffensteiner plays a land and just passes back to Pal here, so he's going to play his 6-drop. 3/3 flying.
Spaghetti.
And we've got 2 creatures now, which is also. Ooh, there's an Eyes in the Skies, but it's a little late here.
Yeah.
Might be able to find a way to get in, but this is going to be a tough one.
I mean, he can certainly certainly attack here, because Paul can't. I mean, Paul has to know he can't block here.
He does. Although it's only what, a 2/2.
Yeah, but at the same time, why would he attack? I mean,
no, I understand.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, there's. Like the Swift Justice doesn't cut it here.
Right.
If he puts a Trestle Troll in front.
But he's also seen, like, he has seen cards like Savage, Pumpy. The where are you? Savage Surge. I knew it was alliterative. Way to write things down for us.
All right, so this is actually a really, really intense spot, because right now we've seen that Graffensteiner has Eyes in the Skies in his hand, and he can make that play that we were describing earlier, where if it goes unblocked, he can Eyes in the Skies, make his guy bigger, and get a populate out of it. But he's going to prevent it, and he's going to drop. He says, "No, I'm double blocking."
I don't think there's any way you can make that block there. Like, because even if he has
so
an Eyes in the Sky,
Eyes in the Sky happens, and no, that does not do what he thinks it does. He's just populating. He just played Druid's Deliverance, but that only prevents damage to you this turn.
But it still makes his guy a 5 toughness creature.
Okay, and is that going to make it live?
Yeah.
3, 4. You're right. Absolutely. Okay, I'm glad you saw that, because I was like, did he think that he's just going to blank combat here?
Yeah.
He's not. He made it a 5/5. Okay, we get another bird token in here. Wow, that's a sweet sequence. He gets the Trestle Troll off the board, which is super annoying for all those birds that he just made.
Yeah.
And it's his second creature that Pal needs to activate the Sanctuary to make the 8/8.
I don't think there's any way you can do it, but this is still fine. Like, you have the ability here to chump block the Wayfaring Temple with your Cellar of Songbirds and then arrow it after combat.
Okay.
And you're perfectly fine with that. Like, that is a 1.5 for 1 I'm more than willing to make.
Yeah, and he just did it.
Yeah.
He just did exactly that.
And now his two flyers are like superior to the flyers we see currently on Graffensteiner's side, and he can wait to see what Graffensteiner does for the attack. And if Graffensteiner decides not to attack for some reason, he now has the ability to activate his temple and get himself an 8/8.
Well, this is an interesting spot, because Graffensteiner did it the old-fashioned way and just cast his 8/8 Vigilance.
Yeah.
He has a Risen Sanctuary on the board now, and like he can offer to trade.
Yep.
He's gonna attack with it, and he's
Here
gonna
it
say,
is.
"You want to use your sanctuary? We'll trade 8/8s."
Yeah, sacrifice my land. Or is he
He can also
jumping?
just chump block. He can block and then make a token and then make the 8/8.
That's true.
This doesn't really do anything though.
No, he's fine. Like, I mean, he's gonna have a 3/3 to hold down the air against those 1/1s, and on the next turn he has the ability to block should he want to. And he doesn't need to get rid of it this turn.
Okay.
And he has a launch party in his hand. It looked like.
Okay, so he can just switch gears into hit you for 8 every turn mode.
Yeah.
All right, we are just being told that we are in turn 1 of turns here, Nate.
Oh wow, that completely changes the complexion of things.
It does. So how does this work? If they get a draw, is it just a draw like normal?
Yep.
But that's going to be very bad for both of them, I'm assuming, for both teams.
Yeah,
so this is going to be interesting. So they're going to play this game out, and let's see if a win can be achieved here. And after that, we'll see where it goes.
I don't know if Powell can win this game with the number of bird tokens that are on the side for Graffensteiner. Like, this may be a, do we get a draw, or does Graffensteiner take this game?
You know, sometimes you'll see something happen where if one player is dramatically ahead and has some form of inevitability on the other one will concede to them. But right now, that is just not the case on this board state.
Yeah.
You know, when they go to turns, instead of taking a draw where it is to the disadvantage of both players.
Yeah.
Now, it looks though like Powell can survive as long as he needs to survive as well.
Yeah, I mean, he does have a launch party in his hand. I'm like 90%
He
sure.
does. I've seen it.
Okay,
You're right.
cool.
Whoa, he's going into his attacks, and we see Graffensteiner pick up lands in response. Although that's usually a bluff in my experience. Actually, it's 1,000% of the time a bluff in my experience. But I think Graffensteiner just says, sure. Yeah, he's just like, I'll go to 20.
Got me.
Now, what is this? Is that a Phantom?
It is a Phantom
General.
General.
All right. Well, that does trump the Risen Sanctuary because now his elemental's a 9/9 instead of an 8/8.
Now it takes a Risen Sentinel and a bird.
Risen Sanctuary and a bird.
Sanctuary and a bird, yeah, to kill it.
But, and just as importantly, Graffensteiner can't try to trade.
Yeah.
He's got 2 lands in his hand. And this game looks like it's heading directly towards a draw.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have to see how the players want to handle this. We'll get an update if we're able to.
Going nowhere.
There's just not much going on here for either player.
No, I mean there's too many creatures on the table for this game to end. And the life totals are high enough. Like even at 10, Powell's life total is high enough that this game has no realistic chance of ending. Like it would require Graffensteiner being able to, in the course of the same turn,
I can think of one card that ends the
that
game.
8/8 and be able to cast Chorus of Mights.
Yeah, that's one thing. But I can think of a card that, let's say Powell has no cards in hand, and it's a land.
Oh yeah, the Rogue's Passage. Yeah.
Because he would get in for 8, attack with all birds, and get in for 2 with the birds.
Yeah.
And it would be exactly lethal.
Yeah.
But we know that Powell has launch party in his hand, so that plan is also not something that can happen.
Right.
But that is one way that Graffensteiner could have had to one-shot.
Yes.
Which is interesting because that isn't an out you would normally consider like a land.
Right. Double checking to see what the attributes of the elemental token are, I would imagine, even though they're written on the elemental token.
Yep, and he doesn't need to turn it sideways because it has vigilance, so there we go. Oh, read your card, there you go. He looked at it again.
Wait, what?
But you know what, he's being a sport, and he is still, putting himself in a position to try to win this game, but I think we're just going to see 2 chump blocks here. I mean, there's nothing, there's no realistic sequence that could get 20 through in this turn.
No. I mean, there could be Might of Oaks.
It would be like, it would need to be
Growth.
Chorus of Might of Oaks or something. Even then, I don't want to do the math, but it's like still not getting through.
Run Wild. Giant Growth. Giant Growth. Giant Growth. Giant Growth.
You missed me on this one.
Suntail Hawk.
Oh, okay. Is this like the duels thing or
Engulfing
something?
Flames.
All right, block and block.
Yeah, this is problematic, we should say. Yeah, so determining how,
He says, yep, damage happens.
I can't picture either of these guys like conceding so that the other team has a chance to make top 2, rather than both of them taking the draw.
Yeah, well, and there's no legal way otherwise to decide a winner. You're not allowed to do it by a random event. You can't roll a dice on it or do.
You can have a breakdancing competition.
You could do that, but
that's not that random.
It doesn't happen that often, and it's also skill testing. Yeah, it's also dexterity based, which you're not supposed to do. So.
Oh yeah, good point. Yeah.
Yeah, so if these guys just look at each other and they just say, guys, like I don't want to concede, and he says, yeah, I don't want you to concede either, then so it goes. But it seems like a shame.
Yeah.
Is that a soul tithe?
It is.
Yeah, soul tithe. Yeah.
I mean, he could move those 3 counters over to his.
He could.
Giant guy now.
He gives it a chance to die. It might be better that way. What is this 4 mana for? Oh, he's going to launch party on upkeep and kill the sanctuary. It's still not enough, though.
Yeah, 8, 9, 10,
Even
11,
if he can get
12,
that thing out of the way.
13, 14, 15, 16.
Block.
Yeah, if he had 2 cards, he could. Because he could have been able to remove the bird, attack, and then have a pump spell. Like, I mean, if he's got his own chorus of many.
Yeah, because Holtzinger does take the 2. And it looks like we have a little negotiations going here.
Yeah, this is
about now. So this is what I was talking about. Now, the German team is under no obligation to concede, but they do have the option to if they want. And what you have here is Pal saying, look, man, I'm going to win this game. He's saying, we played it out, and I was in the position to win. And Graffensteiner, though, has no obligation to do it, and it looks like it's going to be recorded as a draw, a 1-1-1, and they're both going to sign it. And that's how it goes. I mean, there's nothing owed in these situations. It's just occasionally you'll see 2 teams or 2 players, decide that it's for the better good to do that. But
I mean, time is a resource. Time is a parameter that matters in Magic.
Absolutely.
So, and when you run over time, you run into the draws.
Yeah, and I don't think that. I mean, these guys are high-level players. They understand that, but it can be frustrating.
Yeah. So, round 14 ends in an unfortunate draw for both players, both teams, which makes it unlikely that either team is going to be able to advance to the finals here at Grand Prix San Jose.
You're just in the moment entirely, you're not thinking about you're playing this one game for $20,000 or something. That doesn't cross your mind. You're just like,
what would the Channel Fireball guys do? Because it doesn't make sense to do something that's going to lose to what they're going to do.
Hands up in the audience if you think Conley can win now. Heck of a lot more.
For the best Magic players, what begins here can end here. Or here. Who will be crowned champion, earning glory for his guild and all who wear its colors? How will the modern format change with the addition of powerful new strategies? In the city of guilds, only the strong survive.
Welcome back into the booth. I'm Sheldon Henry, along with Richard Hagon. We got the big double switch. So you went from the expert.
Who were you?
I was the Marshall Sutcliffe.
Oh, okay. So I was Nate Price.
Right.
I've always wanted to be Nate Price.
So you wanted to be taller, didn't you?
Patriots and Seahawks still tied.
Yeah, looks like it.
Okay.
So you went from the expert draft analysis of Marshall Sutcliffe and Nate Price to us.
Well, the good news is, I'm going to sound like I know what's going on because I've cheated.
And
so in that,
how so?
So, how so? Wasn't he on like the Chinese team in?
Racist.
No, stop. Anyway, so here's the thing.
So explain to me your cheat, sir.
The cheat went like this. So we have a camera set up for a match. Next door to that, there is another match that goes on, which we call the text coverage feature.
Right.
Now, most of the time, there isn't a text writer there. Last round, there was.
You.
It was me. So I watched Conley Woods and Eric Froelich and Owen Turtenwald up against Stanislav Sivka and Lucas Yaklowski and Ivan Flock.
Right.
So I've just spent an hour watching those 6 decks. Give you one guess who we're about to have on video.
I would imagine it would be Tinkers, Ever, and Chance.
You're very, very close. The only difference is that it's Woods, Frolic, and Turnaround. So I've watched these 6 decks in action for the last hour, which means there's a fair chance I may have an idea what's going on in what we might call part 2 of their double header, which I can tell you that the first set went to the Czech/Slovak team. Because this is a slightly weird one. I mean, obviously, they're very close neighbours geographically. You would expect that even Flock would be playing with Robert Jurkovic.
Right.
Robert Jurkovic had work commitments this weekend. He is flying out for Seattle, but it meant that Flock was teamless, which must frustrate the hell out of you when you've played 5 times for your national team.
Right.
You are a former Team World Champion. You're in the top 8 of the World Magic Cup.
Right, but it's not like nobody wanted him.
Oh, not at all. No. And he's ended up with 2 very fine players. Yaklowski also has a world's top 8